Hello, good morning to everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to show you how to do, it's kind of like a fringe style necklace today. So it will graduate down kind of like a scalloped scalloped edge using some lovely seed beads. I'm using the FGB seed beads, which is the fancy glass seed beads, some little head pins and a little bit of chain. So you can choose from 4 different colours, but we've also put a little bundle on the website so you can just get the chain and the findings, and then you can go and choose your own beautiful seed beads. So I'll show you all of the different colours. I'll say good morning to you quickly now, and then we'll get making. It is quite a simple make. It's just adding on lovely little seed beads. So good morning to Rachel. She's in a bright and cold Barrow. Weather here today is very overcast, but something absolutely magical happened the other day. It was the 10th, I think it was. I actually got to see the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis in all its absolute beauty from my back garden. Didn't have to go anywhere, didn't need any fancy cameras or lenses. I could just see it with my eyes. It was the most amazing thing. So I hope lots of other people got to see it as well. I know I missed it last time because I had a show, so I'd gone to bed early. So when it was, I think it was May, I missed it, but I got to see it this time and it was fantastic. So let me know if you got to see it as well. Good morning to Debbie, good morning to Linda. She says good morning Natalie and Beading family from a very wet Watford. Mina's in as well, watching from rainy New Zealand. I hope you're well, my love. And Camille's in as well. She says it's dull and wet again. Well, these are nice and bright and colourful. As I say, there's 4 gorgeous colours for you to choose from, but you can choose any other seed beads that you want to match with this, providing they fit on the pin. You could use any size. I think I'm using the size 6s. So let me take you over to the website and I'll show you what's going on. We've also got a 10% discount as well, and it's going to make 3 necklaces in each kit. So head on over to totallybeads.co.uk and head into the video tutorial category. We are today making the Veronique fan necklaces. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see that they are here. So I've put together a forest green, a mauve, which is a bit like a violet to me, a sapphire blue, and also a sweet pink red. Today though, I'm going to mix my colours up and I'm going to do a multicoloured one to demo with. It's really straightforward, the make. If you want to choose a completely different colour, so say maybe you're somebody who prefers more kind of oranges or yellows or golds or monochromes, whatever it is, have a little look at our seed beads. I'll try and find you the link for that as well. But you can click here, and this is just the findings. So for £4.50, which has been discounted, you're going to get enough chain, jump rings, head pins and lobster clasps to make 3 necklaces. You just need to add your seed beads. So if you were to click on, you could use any seed bead for this, but I'm using the fancy glass beads, which are FGB. And if you scroll in here, you can see we've got pages and pages and pages of different colours. So you could do your own mix and you could get a couple of different colours. They'd look gorgeous together. Have a little look. You can see there's absolutely loads and loads and loads and loads and pages and pages and pages and pages for you to have a little scroll through and just choose whatever you like the look of. The reason why I've gone for the fancy glass beads, the FGB, rather than say a Toho that I would usually use, is because they're that kind of in between. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about them in a moment, and I'll explain why I've used these. If I show you the colourway I've put together, this one's the forest green. It's £6.30, so it's been reduced by 10%, and you can make 3 necklaces up in this colourway. So you're getting your fancy glass beads, your FGB size 6 seed beads, you're getting your chain, your jump rings, your head pins and your lobster clasp, and that's going to make 3 necklaces in that kit. Have a little scroll down if you want to see the particular colour or components and sizes. So you might want to know Well, what type of chain is it? Well, it's a flat oval 6x1 mm, and I'm using the silver head pins. So all the findings, the chains, the jump rings, the head pins and the clasp, they're all going to be in silver, because a lot of our seed beads have got this lovely kind of silver lining to it, and I just think any colour will work with the silver. So this one is your lovely forest green colourway, and you can see it's just creating that kind of scalloped edge just by alternating the size in terms of the length of the pin and the amount of seed beads that I've put onto those. We've also got the mauve. I really like this one. This one is shaped in more of a V shape, but you can make that more rounded. You can do whatever you want to create that kind of fringe shaping. So that one here is using the beautiful silver lined mauve. Really beautiful colour. I'll show you them down on the mat as well, but obviously they look better when they're on and gravity, does its thing. This one is the sapphire blue. So I'm using those beautiful, that says size 12. They are all size 6, I think, that I'm using for this. Providing it fits onto your head pin though, and most of them will, you're just going to need to use more if you're using a smaller seed bead. But they will be more uniform in size. So this one is the sweet pink. So it's got like a very warm kind of almost reddish tone to it. And that one's £7.20. So you're making 3 necklaces up in your kits if you choose one of those colours, or you can just buy the findings and then you can add your own seed beads to it. So the reason why I've chosen these seed beads is your fancy glass seed bead is kind of the in-between. So you've got your more uniform shape and size ones, which might be your Mayuki or your Toho. These are a little bit more irregular in size, so you might have some which is slightly longer and some which are a little bit smaller, but then they're a higher quality than, say, your craft seed bead. So I thought this was a nice one to make, because I think the size 6, they've got like a lovely chunkiness to them. There's lots of beautiful colours in the Totally Beads range of those seed beads, but also I just felt that size-wise, you're going to get a lot more for your money. So your bags, like, you get an absolute massive bag, and I've already made, plenty of necklaces. So you're going to get a little bit more for your money using it this way. But if you want to get any other seed beads, so if you think, actually, I want to create a more kind of pointed, tapered, sharper V, then I would go for, maybe you can go and get your Tohos if you want, and they'll be more precise in terms of the size of those. It won't be the necessary, I'm not talking about the drill hole, I'm talking about the actual shape of the bead. Some of them, these are, I think, a little bit more curvy. So if you wanted to create a more tapered look, then you might want to use more uniform size seed beads. If you quite like that scalloped kind of curved look, which I liked with this make, then I'd go for the FGB. So we've made it so you can choose whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. Your size 11s will fit on these head pins as well. And that's, like, I think the smallest one we do. You could use 6s, 8s, whatever you fancy. But for these, I'm using the size 6. So let's have a little look in the comments and see what I've missed. Hello to Jan, I hope you're okay. Kath's in watching from Banbury. I think you're in Banbury, aren't you, Kath? Hope you're having a lovely morning. Ellie's in as well, in sunny Kirby. Why have you got the sunshine, Ellie? I've got no sunshine. It's really overcast here. Carol's in. Hello to you. Pauline's in as well. She says she's having a rather wet morning. Mina's having a fab time. She says she's bought a few bags of acrylic pearls, and my nieces went mad with them. She's made them all jewellery. I seen your picture, Mina, which was lovely. You've all got matching jewellery, haven't they? That's lovely. Emmeline's in as well. Good morning to you. Judith's in. She says sun's shining, but it's very cold in West Lothian. And good morning to Esther, who's in a sunny Preston. So the sun shines out somewhere, just not here. Okay, I'll take you down. Oh, in fact, this one's the blue one. So this is your blue sapphire. Obviously, when it's on that chain, it's going to create that dropped effect anyway. This bust is a little bit big. But you'll see, because that chain's going to curve around your neckline, then you're going to create that fringe effect anyway. But I am graduating the amount of seed beads that I'm popping on my pins. So I'm creating this lovely tapered look. So you can add as many as you want onto the central one, and you can work outwards. Sheila's in as well. Hello, she's having a sunny day in Washington, tying weir. And Ellie, thank you so much. She's going to send the sun my way. So what I've done is I've put 15 seed beads on the very middle link on that chain on my pin, and I'm just doing a straightforward turned loop. So you can use your looper tool if you've got one. I would suggest to use I use my round nose pliers for all of them, but I definitely use my round nose for the one which has got the most seed beads on, because you're just going to struggle to get the pin in. The pin is 50 millimeters in length, so you're going to have enough length of pin to add your seed beads on and turn that loop, but you'll only have a tiny little pin. You don't bit of pin left to turn it. You don't need to cut it off. So I've started with 15 on one, and then I'm graduating it down. So the next two next to it will have 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, all the way until 1. So if you wanted, you could start with, say, 12 and graduate down. You could do whatever you wanted. You could also make it kind of more scalloped, and you could add pins all the way around the length. You could do, a smaller cluster. So you might just want to start with 7 and then go down to 1 and then go back up into 7 again, so you're creating more of kind of a scalloped edge. But this is just a nice straightforward way of creating that kind of V fan effect, and I think, as I say, these seed beads are really, really beautiful. So this one here, which is kind of like the lilac-y one, that's our mauve. We've also got this one, which is the forest green, which is really, really lovely. And again, because the way the chain hangs, you're going to get that kind of curved edge anyway. I tried to keep these like a similar length in terms of the bottom ones, just to create a more rounded effect. And then we've got the red one as well, which is, or the sweet pink as it's called. And I've shown you the sapphire on the bust. I'll just hold these seed beads up for you so you can see they've got that lovely movement to them as well. But it is a pinkishy red. So what I'm going to do to get started is, because today I'm going to do a mix of my seed beads, I'm going to lay my seed beads out in the order that I want to put them on the pins, and I'm going to put them on the pin each time, but in obviously graduating the number. So I'm going to start off with my gorgeous mauve colour. I'm then going to add one of my beautiful sapphire. Then I'm going to add my sweet pink, and then that forest green. So I'm going to lay them out in order. You can't see the green there. I don't want too much on my screen because I don't want it to stop the focus. Good morning, Sue. And I'm going to cut the chain to whatever length I want. So I've used about 50 centimetres here. You've got plenty of chain to cut it to the size that you want. If you want that a little bit smaller, you can do. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the centre of my chain. So if you want to, you can add your jump rings and your clasp on to begin with. I'm just going to lay that out, and then I'll find that central link, which is this one here. And that's going to be what I add my pin with the most on. So I'm going to add 15 seed beads onto my pin, and I'm going to graduate it down in number on each side. So I only need to make one of the central one. Every other pin, I'm going to make 2 of that same amount on. And I hope that makes sense. Now, because I didn't want the live to be too repetitive, I've started to make already. So this one has got my 15 on. And as I make them, I'm going to start to kind of lay them out in front of me. So then I'll make 2 with 14, 2 with 13, 2 with 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to place them out in front of me, so I don't have to keep counting how many seed beads I've got. So the one with the most on, which is my 15, is going to go on that middle link there. So I'm going to just make a couple of my pins with you now, so you know how I'm doing it, and then we can assemble it all. So I'm using the head pins. They've got a nice nail tip finish, which is nice and flush to it. So you won't really see those pins. You could use a ball pin instead if you wanted, but I think the this look is particularly nice for this design. So I've laid out my seed beads because I'm doing a mix of colours in the order that I want to put them on. So I've got my 8. I'm now going to put 7 on. So I'm going to pick up my pin, and then I'm just going to start threading on my seed beads. So I'm going to create like a rainbow effect using that mix. But you can see they do vary in size. You've got some which are a little bit smaller than others. I know, well, Camille's counting along with me already, but I deliberately wanted to do some in advance, so you weren't watching me count continuously. When you are doing this design though, if you are mixing up your colours, you're always going to end with the same colour on each one, so I don't have to count after I've done the first one. I'm going to make 2 of the same, so I'm going to make 7. So I know if I'm starting with that lovely mauve, I'm going to finish with that sweet pink. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then they will be roughly the same size. So to turn my pin, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to bend right at the top of that last seed bead. So I'm just going to put horizontal bend into my pin. And then with my cutters, I'm going to trim off. So as you put less seed beads on, you're obviously going to have more pin. If I'm putting, say on this one, 15 seed beads, then I'm only going to have a little bit of pin left. So I'm not going to cut off at that point. I can just turn it. But with this, I'm going to cut, leaving about 1 centimetre from that bend. So I just put my fingers over it just to make sure that that pin doesn't fire away. And then I'm going to hold the top of that last seed bead between my finger and my thumb, just to keep it from slipping up. I'm going to put my round nose pliers in, making sure it's flush so it's not sticking out the back of the pin. And I'm just going to give it a little turn, reposition my wrist and rotate that all the way round. So I've got a little loop that sits on the bottom, and then I'm going to put it in my pile there and do exactly the same with the other side. So I've got 7 on here. Going to bend it horizontally. I'm going to give it a trim just after the bend, leaving about 1 centimetre, so it's long enough for me to turn my pin. Trim it off. Hold that seed bead just so it doesn't slip up as I turn that loop, making sure it's nice and flush. And then little rotations. I only need a small loop, big enough just to make sure that it sits nicely at the top of my chain. And then I'm going to do another one with 6, but I'm going to start with the same colour here. So the mauve, the sapphire, the sweet pink, and the forest green. And then going back in that pattern. And I tend to just do like a little production line with it, really, where I'll just make all of my pins first and then pop them out, lay them out in the order that I want them to be before I assemble it. So this time, to get 6 on, I'm going to finish with the sapphire. bending my pin. So you could use your looper tool as you get more of that pin. I'll show you how to do the looper tool if you've got one. We did sell them on Totally Beads. I think we've probably got some stock left. And sometimes it is good to use the looper if it's a little bit repetitive, but I haven't with this. I've just turned my loops by hand. I'm not doing a wrap loop with them because I want to be able to directly attach them onto the chain. If you wanted to get a little bit more movement, you could attach these onto a jump ring as well if you wanted to, and attach them to the chain with the jump ring. And I tend to find when I'm attaching them, just making sure that that's sitting nice and straight. I did on some occasions attach them and lay my chain out on the bust and then work off my bust just to make sure that they were hanging straight. So then I'm going to make my 5s. Again, I'm going to start with the same colour. If you buy the colours that I've put together, then you don't need to put your order out on the table or out on your mat. You can just draw from one bag and use the full one colour. I'm not really sure how this is going to look because I've not made it yet, but I think it'll look quite nice, a bit like a rainbow. So you've got a nice sized drill hole in your seed bead. It's just going to fit onto your pin. So I'm graduating down in the number. I'll show you how to use it with the looper tool. So this looper tool, this is the size of the loop. It'll usually say on your handle what size loop. So this loop's probably going to be a little bit bigger than the ones I've been making by hand. I'm going to pop in my seed beads and I'm going to slide it all the way through so the pin comes out the other side in that little loop of the tool there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bend, just bending my pin, and that way when I close my handle in, it's going to cut that pin there and it's going to turn the loop for me. I'm not going to close it all the way. I'm going to do it nice and slow and gradual because obviously these are made of glass. So if I put too much pressure on that seed bead, I can snap it and break it. So I'm just going to turn it so it's almost fully turned, and then I'm going to come back in with my round nose just to tighten up that loop, and that'll make the loops for you. So if you'd prefer to use your looper tool, you absolutely can do if you've got one. Just make sure that your pin goes all the way through. Just bend it out the way. That also makes sure that my loop fully turns and goes all the way around. So as I close it slowly, I'm just pressing in the handle, giving the handle a squeeze. It's going to cut it for me and it's going to turn my loop. And my loop, because I bent the pin, should be sitting nicely and evenly on the top. Just going to give it a close over, and if it's not fully on the top, then I'm just popping my round nose back in and give it a little knock. So if you've got any dexterity problems, then using the looper can be quite useful. So I put 5 on my last one. I'm now going to do one with 4. Well, I'm going to do 2 with 4. So I'm using all of my colours. I'm going to bend at the top of the pin. So bending my pin will mean when I turn and roll that loop back, it's going to roll and sit straight on top of it. I then cut. So I'm using the flush side of my flush cutters. getting it nice and straight and flush, because if there's a little bit sticking out, then that part's not going to turn. So I'm going to use towards the smaller part of my round nose where they're tapered, just gently holding the pin in between my finger and my thumb to keep those seed beads from moving up, and a little rotation just to turn my pin into that loop. And again, to mirror on the other side, I'm going to add 4. And bend in close to the top of that last seed bead. So just pushing it with my pliers just to bend it over. Doesn't have to be fully 90 degrees, but there or thereabouts. Trimming off. So when I turn my loop, I have my knuckles facing away from me. I decide whereabout I want it, my knuckles are facing away. I then give it a little flick up so my knuckles are facing upwards, and then I reposition my wrist, and then little rotations just to turn that pin. If it needs it, you can straighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to graduate down, so I've got 15 in the middle, 14, 13, 12, 11, 2 10s, 9s, 8s, 7, 6, 5. Don't think I've moved the full middle there, haven't I? And then I'm going to go for my 3, then 2 pins with 2, and 2 pins with 1. And I'm going to find which is my central one onto my chain. So I'm going to get my chain back out and just laying it flat on the table so I can line up those 2 end links, and I can find where that central link is, which is that one there. And then I'm going to check which one's got 15 pins on it. So what I want to do is I want to find the one with the most. That's why I lay it out. And I'm going to work from the biggest one down, and then I'll know how I'm placing it all. Esther's asking, what do you do with all the bits you cut off? Often, Esther, I'll be honest, I tend to put them in the bin, but it does because I've got lots in my stash. But it depends on what I'm going to make and how much pin I've got. So with the how much leftover I've got, so with this little offcut here, what I could do is I could make that into an eye pin. So I could turn it and straighten it, and I could make like a double connector. So I could turn a loop at one end. I could add on some beads, and I could make a little connection with that. I would just turn the other side. So you don't have to waste them if you don't want to. You can see there I've had enough to make a double connector. You could use them on anything, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, whatever you want. Good morning, Angela. She says, my brain has gone, not sure where. Oh, if you found it, it might be with my marbles. So I'm going to start from the middle one. So let me find which pin that was. Must be this one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the one with the most on. And I'm just going to open up my loop that I've made by giving it a little flick towards me. I'm going to find the center link on the chain, and I'm just going to add it directly onto that. So if you wanted to, as I say, you could attach these with a jump ring if you wanted to, and then they would kind of like move a little bit more. They'd be a bit more, they'd swing a little more, I suppose, or oscillate. So I'm just sliding that middle link onto the chain, and then I'm closing up my loop. Make sure you've got that fully closed. Just going to give it a little bit more of a close, and that's going to sit in the middle. So if you want to, you could add this onto a bust, and then you know exactly, you know, where everything's going on. It's going on in the right direction. Let me just move that link. There you go. So that's going to sit in the center of my chain, and then I'm just going to work down. So I'm going to use every link in the chain. I'm not missing a link. I'm just putting the one that goes down in size right next to it. So I'm just going to push my seed beads down flat. I did find this was a little bit easier to do it on the bust, to be honest, just because the seed beads sometimes want to move up, and it's hard to get that link. So it's just going to go onto the link right next to it on the chain. I'm just going to move it outshot a little bit just to make sure I get it through just while I'm attaching it on, because I'm a little bit struggling to see, so I need to hold it closer up to my face. So I apologise that I'm outshot just for now. So what can happen is your seed bead can move up onto the loop when you open it a little bit, and it can be a little bit tricky to keep it in place while you slide it on. So I tend to push it up at the bottom of my finger, find the link that I want it on, and slide that through. It's not that tricky, it's just because I'm under the camera. And then I'm just going to close that loop down, and that's going to be sitting next to it. So now I'm going to pick up my next one, which has got 14 on, and that's going to go on the opposite side of that middle one. So opening up the loop by giving it a little flick, attaching it through the link on the chain, and closing it over. So it's just a case of assembling it now, and it will start to make that kind of graduated look. Hello Valerie, I hope you're well. I like your name, Valerie Handmade with Heart. What stuff do you like to make, Valerie? Are you a jewellery maker, or are you just a general crafter? Do you make all sorts of different stuff? Anybody getting any Halloween decorations out? Is anyone making anything seasonal? Apart from jewellery, I don't make anything at the moment. I made a festive door wreath. So it's autumnal. It's got like little pumpkins on it and orange leaves and whatnot. Just make sure that you fully close your pin so it doesn't slide off. And then just work down. So you're opening one side and attaching that on to the next link, closing it over, just keep laying it out and then move down. So it's much easier to have your pins laid out in front of you and know where your which one you're putting on next, so you don't have to stop and count. Put it on one side and then it's matching one on the other. Closing that over. Hi Anne, hope you're well. Camille says, I started my Christmas cards again. I was seriously thinking I should stop sending them with the postage so expensive now. Yeah, things are getting very pricey. Everything's getting really pricey. I can't go to the shop and not find something that I'm like, really, for that? But it's lovely to get a handmade card, Camille. It's a gift in itself. Don't often do Christmas cards, to be honest, no more. I don't know, it depends how organised I am each year, to be honest. If you don't get one from me, don't take it personally. I might send you a message, might send you like a text message or a GIF or something. So I'm just adding each one onto the chain. And I'm just going up a chain link each time. Hooking it on and closing it over. I quite like this mix of colours. I didn't deliberately pair them together, I just picked out what was most contrasting really. So there was 4 different colour choices, but they do look nice putting them together. I think it's quite a nice way of making like a fringe piece of jewellery. I've done fringe earrings and I've done like waterfall necklaces and things before, but don't think I've done earrings, I think, in a similar technique with the pins, but don't think I've ever done it with a necklace. I've done a fringe necklace with little offcuts of tiger tail. So it's always good not to waste anything. I think Esther was asking before about, what you do with your offcuts. Depends on the size of the offcut and what metal it is. So I always keep my sterling silver offcuts. Even copper really. I think depending on the gauge of the wire it is as well. I often make jump rings and things out of them. Or like little components. Nearly put that on the same link there. So if you attach your eye pin to the next link on the chain, as you wear the chain, it will create that curve, which will mean that it will give it kind of a graduated look anyway. But by adding on one less seed bead at a time, you're going to get that kind of scalloped edge. They also have quite a nice sound to them. They almost jingle. So opening up the loop that we've made, finding the next link in the chain, hooking it through and closing it over. Really straightforward. Again, quite a beginner friendly make. And I'm just working off the left side and then the right side. But you could work all the way down on one, it really doesn't matter. This I just find easier when it's laid out. You can see why I've made most of my pins up in advance, because it doesn't matter how many seed beads you're putting on. Turning a pin is turning a loop on a pin, isn't it? Oh wow, Camille said last year I spent about £60 in stamps, some was for overseas. I've just seen first class is over £2 now. Depends how heavy it is as well, doesn't it? And I really think it varies. So if I ever send anything, especially obviously if you're sending stuff overseas, you want it tracked and signed for and things. Yeah, that's very costly, Camille. What do you do with your cards? I put mine up. I'll have like it's like a string really, but with like pegs on it. So I just tend to put them in the hall and kind of hang them up. And then sometimes what I will do, if I'm savvy enough, is I'll use I always say, well, I'll cut up bits of the nice ones and I'll reuse them and recycle them. So I'll make like gift tags with them to put on the presents, but I'm never that organised. The best use I've found for them, apart from keeping them in a memory box, of course, and just creating more stuff, more storage, I'll wrap around my Christmas lights when I take my lights down. I wrap them around the card and it stops them getting tangled. And then next year, when I'm putting my lights out, I get all smug with myself because I've been organised enough to tidy up properly and put them away properly. Valerie says, I make all kinds of things, but I tend to stay more with the fibre arts, knitting, crochet, sewing, spinning yarn. Oh my gosh, a little bit of everything. Oh, I do a lot of diamond painting. I love sparkle. Oh, you try and share your work in the handmade group if you can. Valerie, I know you're watching on YouTube, but we've got handmade Totally Beads group on Facebook, and obviously we like to share our makes and our jewellery makes, but doesn't always have to be jewellery. We just like to see what other people are making. Have you ever done tatting, Valerie? Is that what it's called? Tatting, where you make kind of like lace. Is that right? Have I got that right? Have I just made up that word? Oh, thanks, Daphne. She says, I love your nails. They look a little bit, I finished them this morning. They don't look great, to be honest, but pink and spooky. 'Tis the season, isn't it? Valerie says, I love the movement of the necklace. It would be cute with some sort of tiny bell. This would be fun in Halloween or Christmas colours. Well, I wasn't really allowed to do Halloween makes. If Simon's watching, it's all your fault. He said he advised me not to, because if it was up to me, I'd be doing loads. But there's plenty that we've done before. So I've done what have we made? I've done like cat earrings and pendants. I've done a pumpkin pendant. So if you want to go and make a wire pumpkin pendant, there's a tutorial on that. We've done lots of spooky charms, so we've made bracelets, and we've made, I've done door kind of decorations. Kitty made spiders and witch hat. I think that was like brick stitch earring. So we have got lots of spooky makes that you can still do, but I agree. You could make any design. It depends on your colours, doesn't it, really? So I always think if you're using like reds and greens, it's quite Christmas themed. Whereas if you're using reds and blacks, what was that? Around those. If you're using reds and blacks, then that to me becomes quite Halloweeny. Pastels always remind me of the spring and kind of Easter time. So seasonal jewellery is something that I very much love. I tend to find this time of year when it's autumn, I will tend to wear more copper coloured things. I'm quite drawn to green at the moment. So I'm getting to my last one, which has just got the one seed bead on. I'm going to open up the link, hooking it on the link of the chain, and then closing that loop back over. And then again on the last one, just gonna straighten that pin ever so, just to knock it straight again. Opening up my loop, finding that link on the chain, hooking it over and closing it up. So I've now created my full fan on my necklace. They're not all sitting straight. I do have to just knock the odd one back into position. Move that a little bit because it's caught between that link. So if you want, you can put this on, you can put it on a bust, and you can hang it on the bust if that's easier. I just tend to find if I'm doing it flat on the table, then I keep laying it out like that, just to lay them flat. Catherine says, I've tried tatting, but it's difficult. I can't get the hang of it. I've never tried it, but it looks fascinating to watch. Ellie says, I've started my diamond painting Christmas cards to my friends and family. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, look at you all making stuff for people. I make jewellery for people at Christmas. I used to make little advent calendars as well, so I put like a little make in each day, but then you've got to make sure that your makes are small enough to fit your boxes on your advent calendar window. Not got round to that yet, but I have started a little bit of Christmas shopping. I've got lots of birthdays coming up, my nieces, my nephews, my husband, so I am gift buying, but it's not necessarily like Christmas presents at the minute, it's birthday presents. So now all I've got to do is just open up my jump rings. Again, in your kit, you're going to get enough to make 3 necklaces. So you're going to get all your chain, your jump rings and your head pins, and there's enough seed beads to make 3. But if you just want to buy the kit, which I'll show you again in a bit, which doesn't have the seed beads in, it's just got the chain, the jump rings and the clasps, and all your pins, then you can just choose your seed beads. So I'm opening up my jump ring. I'm using outer diameter 6mm by 1, and then I'm just sliding that onto the last link of my chain. I've got a lovely little lobster clasp, which is 12mm in size, and this is perfectly sized to fit lovely onto that jump ring, like so. And then I'm just going to give it a close over. There we go, that's a better focus, isn't it? So I'm just holding it between my pliers and I'm moving it away from me. She says that goes out of focus again. Taking it slightly past the point where the 2 ends meet, so it will spring fully closed and back align. And then my necklace is ready to wear. I really like those colours together. Camille's doing birthday shopping as well. Rachel says I have to send gifts to the US, so I need to send soon. Valerie's saying diamond painted cards are so much fun. My husband just ordered me a set of pumpkin coasters for our table. Oh, and snowflake ornaments. Oh, lovely, lovely. Sue's doing Christmas diamond art decoration while watching. Oh, you're all getting really, really organised. You've inspired me to get organised. I'm going to put this on. Please bear with me though, because this top and neckline is just not going to do it any favours. In fact, I'll take my cardigan off. It's cold today. It's just proper autumn. I'll take this off and then I should find my top. So it's going to create that lovely kind of scalloped edge. I would probably personally choose a slightly smaller length of my chain, but you can see it's going to create that lovely, lovely curve in those lovely, lovely colours. It feels really nice. Keep wanting to run my fingers over it, and I don't know if you can hear, but they've got like a lovely sound to them as well. So this has been a mix of the 4 colours that I've put together. They are the fancy glass beads and they are size 6 and they're all the lovely colours. But on the website, I've put them together so you're just going to buy each kit with either the mauve, the sapphire, the sweet pink or the forest green. But if you want to, you can just get yourself the chain and then choose your seed beads. There should be a link for the seed beads, but there's, oh, there you go, more seed beads. Look, it was there all along. If you click on more seed beads, it'll take you through to all of them. So these are all the fancy glass seed beads in a size 6. Love that colour. Love that colour. They look beautiful together. Look at them all. There's loads. But of course, if you want to use a different size, you could still use your size 6s. If you're going to get your Toho size 6s, though, you're going to get less in your bag. Those bags are like 10 grams, where these are 50-gram bags. Look at them. Ooh. You can see we've got an abundance of colours. I think they're a really good size and they lend themselves really nicely to this type of make. You could do some really lovely pumpkin coloured ones there with the tangerine and the lime topaz. There's loads. So have a little look, see what takes your fancy. This, in fact, am I even sharing that? I'm not even sharing that screen, am I? Oh, okay, sorry. I've been like, look at this colour, look at that colour, and I don't think I've shared that screen. Let me stop sharing and share the... Okay, if you click on that little link, it will take you to the FGB self-aligned. Am I sharing it now? Yeah, okay, so I was getting really excited by these colours. But if you scroll down, you can see we've got an absolute abundance of them. We've got some really lovely autumnal coloured ones as well. This is what I was squealing at about the pumpkin looking ones. So they're the size 6 fancy glass seed beads. There's loads on the website. We are doing today, or we have been doing, the Veronique kind of fan necklace. So I hope you like them. Thank you for watching along with me. I always try and make it interesting so you're learning something, but sometimes with a design like this, you know, it is very repetitive. You're just turning loops and then counting seed beads and then making pretty tassels. So I hope it was okay, and I know I did do a lot of chatting. Don't forget, as Esther pointed out, if you've got little bits of your pin left over, you could do a little matching bracelet if you just wanted to link them together. You're getting loads of seed beads in your kit. Rachel says beautiful. Alison says it's lovely. Valerie says, oh wow. Jan's liking it. Camille says not looking to the afternoon to get, oh, she's getting flu jabs and COVID jab. Oh, good luck. Have a cuppa afterwards and rest up. Valerie says they are beautiful. I'm really happy to have caught the live by chance. It's almost 6 a.m. where I am in the States. Those beads are gorgeous. Thanks so much. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to be back with you on Wednesday. What am I doing Wednesday? Necklace or bracelet? I don't know. I've been putting all sorts together, so I'm quite proud of myself because I've pretty much scheduled. I've got a few photographs and a couple more samples to make, but I'm pretty much scheduled now till the 4th of November. Get me? I know I'm not organised when it comes to like life, but work I'm on top of at the moment. I don't know what I'm doing with you on Wednesday. I can't remember. It could be a bracelet. It could be a necklace. I'm looking around the room to try and find, is it that one? Is it that one? But come and find me. I'm going to be here UK time, 10 a.m. We are on Totally Beads Facebook page and YouTube. And you can also find me on Natalie Patton. On YouTube, it's Natalie Patton Jewellery, and I go live from there. And I also share the links on my Natalie Patton Wire Artist, so you can come and catch me live or watch me if you wish at any point you fancy. I hope you all have a really lovely Monday, and I'll see you on Wednesday if you can come and be with me then. So take